Hi and welcome to another narration presented by yours truly, Cryptid's Roost. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the arse of the subscription button as well. And remember to choke hold that notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. And by subscribing you'll be the first to see all our new spooky creepypasta stories. I would like to reach out and say a huge thank you to those of you who have been supporting Cryptid's Roost financially with your sponsorship. We pray the good Lord replenishes you abundantly, and to those of you who will, later on. We pray the good Lord bless you as you do so. And also a huge thank you to everyone for always supporting the channel with your likes, comments and shares as well. It is all very much appreciated. God bless you all. Now, let's just take a moment's silence for all the haters. That'll do. During every video, you should see an info card pop up at some point during the duration of the video. Each of these info cards, top right corner, will direct you to the playlist for the author of this video, and will show you the other stories from this author that you may also enjoy. And also be sure to check out the end screen at the end of the video. This will also direct you to two videos. One is the most recent video uploaded, and the other will be a random video from within the catalogue of stories that I have already narrated, so be sure to check those out. And why not hashtag Cryptid's Roost in your comments. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. In the span of 20 years, I died twice. Part 8. The City Guest. This awesome series is written by TheShadyPear, a wonderful author over on Reddit. And if you'd like to read more of their works, the Reddit link to their profile will be below in the description. I need to correct something I said before. It does rain here, sometimes. The weather is hard to predict since the sky is always the same silver hue, and the rain, when it does come, doesn't seem to affect the temperature much anyway, but it's kind of nice for a change to not see the bleak, cold sun and imagine the sky looks grey because it's raining, and not because that's just the way it is. Walking down the street, I saw a guy standing with his face turned up and mouth open to catch the water. Some of the newbies the raiders bring did that. Personally, I'd advise against drinking the rainwater, but that was because the taste is weird instead of killing you. I can't quite describe what it tastes like exactly. It was just bad, even to us. I guess one could compare it to being more like toilet water than like the Styx River. The rain drinker's face twisted into a grossed out grimace and he spat it out. I told you, weird taste. I couldn't help but laugh at it. The motion rattled in my skull and my laughter turned into a wince. My head hurt. It always did by then, though not as much as it did at first. The migraine was a faint but constant annoyance sneering in the background as I went on with my routine. There wasn't much to do about it either, since I couldn't just knock myself out with almost poppy tea forever, so I just gave my best to ignore it and keep up as usual. The noise coming from the orchard stairway made that really hard, and I clenched my teeth as I went down the steps. To think things were so quiet on the ground floor, yet Lucas was still making his usual ruckus. The 15th floor is a prison. Strictly speaking, you don't have to be a criminal to be there, considering the majority of the city's population would be one in proper society standards. No, instead you end up there for being troublesome, or crazy, or just sick and needing somewhere isolated to either recover or croak. Down there, curved corridors formed perfect circles fit inside larger circles, with rows and more rows of closed doors. The windows are rectangles cut into the walls, with no bars on them. Like any floors numbered in the negatives, number 15 existed below ground level, and sunlight trickled through the glass the city lies on top, more and more weak as you went deeper and the glass grew denser. No matter how you tried, breaking the glass on the windows was not an escape option. That might be why Lucas focused his efforts on the door. Those doors were solid iron though, save for a finger-sized slit at eye level to peek inside and a little flap on the bottom. So that was dumb too. You could hear Lucas all the way up the stairs, for all the good that did. The sound of the rhythmed kicking and heavy slamming against the metal echoed on the walls, enough for other poor sods locked up in here to complain too. If sending me down here was the best solution anyone came up with, they must have been at their wits' end. "If you don't eat, you're going to die." Lucy's voice was the first thing I heard besides Lucas's little tantrum. She sounded frustrated, not that I could blame her. There was the little meal cart next to her, and the tray in her hands held a plate with crepes and a portion of fruit salad, which was a pretty decent breakfast if you ask me, but Mr. Kicker in the cell wouldn't stop attacking his damn door for long enough to push said tray through it. Yeah, Lucas was still being fed, just because it's in the city rules, that anyone here is given enough food to not starve. If you ask me, I think we should let him. "If you don't eat and die," I added, "you'll belong here, keep being born here, and you seem to want that so much, right?" The noise stopped, so I took the tray from Lucy and slid it through the door flap. She looked at me for a second, but said nothing before turning to leave. Ignoring the disapproval was harder than my headache. The city was far from perfect, but it was her home. I knew she wouldn't like hearing it being spoken of as a sort of punishment, but it worked. If you wanted to convince anyone of anything, you had to use an argument that worked for them, even if it wouldn't work for you. "Is it gone?" I heard Lucas mumbling after a stretch of silence. "What is?" "It. You know, it," he groaned. "The white thing. That doll or golem or whatever it is." I could see Lucas peeking through the slit to his cell, looking for other people around me. His eyes wide and paranoid, like that stereotype of people being obsessed with aliens. Considering his height, he must have been tiptoeing against the door. The realization of what he meant came quickly, and I had to hold my breath to keep myself from laughing at the ridiculousness of it all. Lucy was albino, and she is sort of uncanny pretty and had those super pale eyes. Yeah, but if I was hearing it right, he thought she was one of those things, the almost mechanical people that wandered in our dreams, lifelessly following some sort of invisible predetermined path through the meadows. Lucas ignored the fact there was no bone looping round her head like a strange crown, and no orderly meadows or unseen forces smothering our lungs. Maybe spending all week alone in that cell left him with a couple of loose screws. "She'll be back later with more food." Shit. Or should I just tell her to not bother, because no one else will, and then you're really gonna die here? Shit. Just stop the hissy fit and eat, dude. I'm not coming down here just for your bullshit again. "It's not bullshit," he snarled and pounded against the door. "They're here. You telling me you don't remember anything? Come back here, you motherfucker!" More pounding. "Don't you run from me!" I walked back upstairs and ignored him, not bothering to hear what he said fully. Something about making me eat my own teeth. No, I had no clue what he was talking about before he started raging, and I suspect he still wasn't sleeping right either. Those wide eyes darting everywhere weren't helping him look sane, and I didn't have the patience to coddle him and try to make some logic out of his nonsense. But I did stop by the garden, leaning against the Yggdrasil and closing my eyes, trying to even out my breathing again. Because the last time we talked, I dreamed of Lilith and got a little taste for what he'd been raving about. And in case, just in case, there was really some important thing I should know but forgot, then I wanted to remember. Because I'm that stupid, yeah. Images flooded into my head like a waterfall. But I don't think it was the same as whatever event Lucas was referring to. Instead, I saw the children. In my dream, I met Lilith every morning by the garden's entrance. She grew with the years, fast like a weed, her body starting to show dainty curves. But she was still shorter than me, springy and nimble, tiptoeing to reach my shoulder and draping her weight against my hands as she twirls in the sunlight. Adam was more like my brothers, solid but lean, muscles framing his figure into sharper angles. I called him close and kissed his forehead, and as he joined us, I saw the sun had kissed him as well, dusting his cheeks with a coat of golden freckles. Though I tried to pay no mind at first, there were more and more mornings where I found Lilith asleep by the garden entrance, curled against the gates as if hiding from something. She flinched under my touch and whimpered when I asked why her copper skin was streaked with black and purple. She was out of my sight around every noon, when our father's presence drew closer, and his pressure on her shoulders lured her back into the garden's depths. But by the next morning, the scene would repeat itself. As the sight of Lilith asleep by the gates increased, Adam became more and more elusive, no longer as eager to leave the tree shade, avoiding my questions and then my visits altogether. Maybe I was to blame. Maybe I favoured the girl over the boy and he felt neglected. I went to my father to ask for guidance, but he said there was nothing for me to interfere with. There was nothing wrong. It didn't seem right. Adam used to pray a lot, but Lilith never did. She argued that prayers were sacred and that she never needed to use hers. She promised she would, only if it was important. That's why the night when she called for me, shifting from father's name to my own in a helpless plea, I flew in and yanked Adam away from her faster than I could even think, screaming my anger while tossing him aside and scooping her close. After that, the boy still lurked behind the trees, but he avoided my gaze, and when I called him over, he fled, scared of me, as he should. I opened my eyes and my sight spun, swirling as my head flared with a level of pain I couldn't remember feeling since I arrived here. There were no excursions planned today, and I didn't know the schedule for the gardening teams. I didn't want to have to wait until someone found me here and then depend on their charity just to go back home. But I was so disorientated I couldn't stay on my feet. My copper maiden, my golden boy, my little siblings, I could crush them both with a flicker of a finger, and yet they had power I did not. They were able to grow, to choose what they would become. I loved them for it, and I hated them at the same time. But it wasn't me who felt that way. My name is Alex. I never had any siblings, older nor younger. The me from the dream wasn't me. It was the owner of the body I had in there, the real owner. It's the owner of the hands braiding Lilith's hair and the arms swaddling Adam to sleep. I was just a spectator, an intruder. I'm not that person, and even while dreaming I knew that. But I still felt what they did, and their memory hurt. I heaved and vomited. My chest was tight and my head was spinning, and it took a long while until I remembered how to breathe right. But the images didn't stop. I had invited them. I invited them in, and now they wouldn't leave. In my dream, Lilith clutched my tunic with a death grip that didn't match her thin hands, and it pained me to pry her away, but I had to. Father had his attention elsewhere, but that would soon change, and his presence would weigh Lilith back into Adam's arms, her soulmate, born from the same soil. They were made to love each other, and our father wished for nothing else. I should not intervene. It's not fair. The misery on her face and the bruises on her body, and something inside me snapped. The same thing that had made me hurry into the garden and separate them when she had cried to be saved. I could not save her. There was nothing to save her from, so I could not save her. But it's not fair. I clenched my hands, nails dug into my own palms. I let my blood drip onto her hands, gold against the brown of her skin and the red of her own blood. I told her to drink it, a little of me to be taken into her, so that even if I could not save her, she would have the strength to save herself. Soon it had already been months since Lilith started fighting back, but Adam hadn't stopped. Confused about the change as he may be, she often kept him at arm's length, whipping his touch away with her nails, torn branches and thrown rocks. In rare occasions she let him approach and do his deed from beneath her body instead of the inverse thing. The nights became long and angry. Adam prayed even more, asking for assistance from our father and our siblings, but father remained silent because there was nothing wrong, and there was nothing for my siblings to intervene, so they didn't. Lilith grew tired of the squabble, but instead of submitting like before, she chose to leave. Father wanted me to change her mind, and that was my wish as well, but we both knew I wouldn't manage to. If you ever grow tired of it, look for me. I'll always have a place for you. Same. I'll wait for you outside. There was a quip to her lips as she said it, like she knew something I didn't. I let her arms surround me, and I held her back just for a minute before she pulled away and turned to leave. Dawn was shining when Lilith pulled the entrance of Eden open, stepping out on her own volition. Part of me wanted to stop her, and another part wanted to go along. I did neither. Father sent curses in the wind that followed her. He called her foolish, prideful and greedy, and ungrateful and lost. But when I watched Lilith's back disappearing past the outer gates, so small and alone and unwavering, I wished I was as brave as her. I turned and heaved more, rolling onto my knees and emptying my stomach until nothing but bile remained. At some point, someone caught sight of me and I was carried to the tank. Water poured onto my head to clean up my face, and then I was carried to my room because the strength had left my feet and had not returned. Alex. My name is Alex. I repeated it again and again in my head, over 100 times, because I was scared I might forget it if I didn't. Rhiannon is here, typing the rest of this for me while I speak. And there was someone else before too, but my sight was blurry and my ears were still ringing. Ghostly fingers ran through my hair, cold like ice. My chest burns. It burns with a pain older than I am, than all of us are. Shh, it's okay. It'll be alright. Hey, if you're still reading this, come soon, or I can come to you if you prefer. I'll find you. We'll find you. It's alright. You're still so young, with so much potential. I'm running out of time. I know it. So I'll repeat my offer from the before, even if it has a different meaning now. Come share the burden with me too. Please, just take some of this away from me. Just half. Shit, just a little bit is enough. we'll have a deal after all. So there's a passage open as long as you allow me to. You don't really have to die. I swear this is not a threat. I'll owe you one. I just can't take it anymore, so I'm begging you. Help me before I go insane. Don't forget, if you enjoyed that story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line. Or even give them a glowing review. I'm sure they really would appreciate it. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to tap the notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. Oh, and don't forget to share the video far and wide. This will all help with YouTube's algorithm and will help to promote this channel more. And don't forget to check out the merch store. The link will be in the description and also in the video thumbnail. And if you would like an honourable mention, send in a snapshot of yourself with your purchase and I'll feature it in one of the videos. I now have my very own subreddit community where you can submit any stories you've written. You can submit your stories or encounters either there or send them to cryptidsroost@gmail.com. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. All the links are below. I also have a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit, and you'll also find me on Discord. If you would like to support this channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. Again, that will also be below.